Hello, friends, and welcome back. Coffee with Carl, number 43. First things first, I wanted to tell you about something that happened this week with Kreosote Boots. His Instagram account got hacked. So this happens, I mean, you hear about it happening, and oftentimes you don't think much of it until it happens to you. And so I spoke to him about it. It sounds to me like he didn't have two-factor authentication turned on. And so some cowardly hacker who obviously, just wanted to make some quick money, hacked into his account, held it for ransom, told him he wanted, I think, $1,000 or $800 or something for it back. He said no. They said, all right, how about $400? He said no. And then basically they deleted it, I think. And so he's starting from scratch. Now, the good thing is that with a guy like him, right, Kreosote Boots, they have a backlog of several years. And they also, he, right? But, he also has a very dedicated following. So it's not like he's starting from scratch. It's not like he's an influencer, some sort of a model or something where their money is made online. He's creating something. And so it doesn't really affect him that much, I don't think. I think it's just more or less the principle of the whole thing. Like, seriously, you're going to take over some small one-person bootmaker shop who's creating these incredible pieces, and you're going to hold it for ransom based on what? Now, you could argue, well, he should have had better security, and I think he would probably agree with you, but that does not justify what was done. So, yeah, it was a crappy thing, but I have linked to his new Instagram account, which hopefully he has fortified and created two-factor authentication, all that stuff, made it a little more secure, so you can go and follow that. And actually what he's going to be doing is reposting his old videos and photos kind of one at a time. And in a way, I think this is actually the silver lining of this is how many of us get a chance to sort of start over? It's kind of nice to be able to clear out all that dead wood and start over again, and the people who follow you are actually engaged new followers. I gotta say, a big part of me actually thinks that's not such a bad thing. If I had the opportunity to, on the main channel, clear out every subscriber who doesn't watch my videos anymore and only have the ones who are actively watching and engaged, even though it would be a smaller number, that's what I would want. That sounds to me like a better metric to really measure how impactful you are. So I think that sometimes these could be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I'm sure that it was a big blow, and I think there's a certain feeling of violation when somebody takes over something from you, something that's so personal that you took years to curate, and that's a crummy feeling. So anyway, it's gone. He has a new one, and I would suggest going and checking it out. I put a link where the links usually are here. The next thing, I don't know exactly what's happening, but 1620 and Englebert Strauss, the German workwear brand, are combining forces somehow. I don't know exactly what they're doing. They were very cryptic about it. They put a post up on their social media showing 1620 and Englebert Strauss. I'm sorry. And more or less, they're all sort of holding up some pants. And so it says something about designed in Germany and made in the USA. So I don't know exactly what's going to be happening there, but I will certainly be watching very closely because this is an interesting thing. I don't think that 1620 needs the help. They have great designs. They have their fabrics, I think, are the big thing with 1620. Now, they have some unique designs which are really cool. Again, I think that their tech hoodie, especially their work hoodies, are among the best out there. But their pant design is really good, very thoughtful. I love their shop pants. I basically live in those, and I couldn't imagine that they would really need any help from Englebert Strauss. But then again, maybe what this is a little bit of swapping, right? Englebert doesn't really have much of a presence here in the US. I have tried to get their stuff, and it's not exactly easy. So maybe what they're doing is helping that brand break into the US market while they may be helping 1620 break into the German market. Or maybe what they're using is some of the proprietary fabrics that 1620 has. I don't know. It's all just guessing at this point. So I'll be definitely keeping very close watch on what they're doing over there. But 1620 actually did release a new hoodie. It's the full zip hoodie. I'm glad that they did this. Number one, I never liked pullovers. I think that, yes, they can be better because you have that kangaroo pouch, but just the idea of a pullover kind of, I don't know, like it always tends to just ruin whatever clothes you're wearing beneath it and kind of like get them all jostled or whatever. And then, of course, when you take off a pullover, you know, you're basically like exposing your gut to everybody out there. And let's face it, not a whole lot of people want to see this. You know what I mean? So there's that side of it. I think the full zip hoodie is a much better design. And it looks to be long. That is sort of one of the things that 1620 does, is they make a lot of their pieces very long, which I think works really well to tuck them in, but it also can work well, especially if you're wearing a tool belt or a harness on top of them, because it actually won't kind of bunch up and you can put those things around it rather than underneath it. So I like their designs a lot. I think that a lot of them really hit home and they do a great job. So I've championed 1620 for a long time, and I'll continue to do so. Rogue Territory. Here's a company I don't talk about a whole lot, and it's mostly because I haven't delved into their collections yet, but that is something that I want to remedy this year. But Rogue Territory came out with a new waxed jacket. Now, I mean, the market is absolutely choked with waxed jackets. This is called their Hunter Supply Jacket, and now their Supply Jacket is, I believe, a shorter version of this. This is more of essentially, it's a chore coat layout. Most of the time, the lower pockets on chore coats are open. Then you have one chest pocket that is flapped, the other one that's open on the top. They have two flaps on the lower pockets here. I'm not sure that they're fastened anyway, or if these are just flaps. It does look like there's some kind of a snap beneath. Yes, there is a snap beneath those flaps, so that's good. And it looks like they also have side entry hand warmer pockets, which I'm glad to see. I never really liked. Now, I know chore coats have been around forever and they work really, really well, but I am a guy who likes to put my hands in my pockets. And so I'm glad to see that these aren't just like top dump pockets, because that is not comfortable to put your hands in. So when it comes to usability, I'm glad that they did that. Of course, the length is also a little bit longer. It looks like it falls, I don't know, maybe at the bottom of your pocket, kind of there. So this would be a little bit longer for people who like that. And I have put one of these on order. It actually also kind of looks like it's unlined. But anyway, I have one of these coming for the wax jacket shootout. I believe I've ordered everything that I need for that. So we have free note cloth, we have heat straps, we have now, what did I say these guys were? Rogue Territory. We have, who else? Filson. We have Tin Duck Denim. We have Tom Beckby. And I believe I want to get one from Thursday. And then I think I'm going to see if I could dig out my old Huckberry one and really compare these things and side by side, because actually the prices are quite a bit different. For example, this one here is $425. $425 for an unlined waxed jacket. That's a lot of money. Now, if you give me a wool lining, a cotton lining, something that's interesting and unique, maybe we're talking in the ballpark. But when you can get some of these jackets, like, you know, from companies like Gustin for a lot less, and they're still kind of using actually the same fabrics, why would I go with this? So anyway, that's them. Rogue Territory. We'll see. I've heard great things. I'm looking forward to checking it out. Ironheart announced their fall-winter flannel lineup, kind of. And now they didn't give you a breakdown of exactly what's coming, but they did hold up. It was like a short video where they held up a lot of the different ones that are coming, and it looks like there's some really great looking shirts. Now, one of the things they did say is that whereas in the past a lot of Ironheart ultra heavy flannels and slubby flannels and stuff like that were available in both Western cut and work cut, I believe that these are going to be either or. So a perfect example, looks like the first thing that they released is this beautiful orange one. Now, this is their slubby heavy flannel, which, oh boy, is this gorgeous. Now, they did a great job. This is in Western cut only, which kind of sucks for people like me because I don't fit into their Western cut. I have one. I'm looking at it right now, and it stares at me every day, reminding me how I just simply am too stocky to fit into it. I mean, like, you know, I put it on, the arms, I could barely bend my arms. They're very narrow. The shoulders are narrow, even though it's an extra large. I've had much better luck with their work shirts, which are a little bit more generous. And so anyway, I hope that they come out with some really cool colors like this one, because this is absolutely beautiful. The other thing is like that fabric, right? It's this slubby fabric. It looks like something that you may have found in your drawer or something, but it's new. And they have the black snaps on there. Oh boy, this is gorgeous. Now I will say this. I'm actually kind of surprised they went with the black snaps. Now, I think that the ivory or mother of pearl ones, not real ivory, but you know what I mean, like the white ones, right? I think that the mother of pearl snaps are an upgrade. And I may be mistaken. You may be able to order those on the actual Ironheart website, because I know that sometimes you could change those out. And for a little while, they were offering the, who's that, Good Art Hollywood or whatever, snaps and stuff. That's not my style, but whatever. I think you could actually change those up. So that may be the case here, because I think those actually might look a little bit better. The black sort of stands out because the rest of it is orange and yellow and white. And so then you get these black snaps, which kind of are kind of standing there. But whatever. It just looks amazing. And I can't wait to see what else Ironheart is coming out with. You may look at that price and say, holy crap, what are you, crazy? And I agree with you. First time I saw that, I was like, who would, for a cotton shirt? What are you, insane? Then I felt one in person, and I got to look at it, and I was like, okay, I get it. I see. This is really next level. I mean, I'm talking like just everything about it is so well thought out. There's a reason that the Ironheart flannels hold the opinion that they have of most people. And I've tried many, many flannels. As you know, it's sort of one of my hobbies. The flannel guide is coming out soon. I have some interesting stuff coming for that, but whew, these things are beautiful. Now, here's something I just want to talk about because I want to talk about it. I love cinematography, and I'm kind of a nerd with that stuff. And one of the things that I always try to do in my videos is make the B-roll, right? The product shots look as good as they possibly can. I totally geek out when I see things like Planet Earth, you know, like that series that came out a while ago. And I love just looking at great color graded images and stuff. That's just one of the things that really kind of, I don't know, I love it. It's like kind of a little hobby of mine, but I try to bring a little bit of that as close as I can get into my videos. And I've learned a lot over the last 8 years. And I think that now they're finally starting to get to kind of matching what I had in my head. And a lot of that, honestly, wasn't the camera. It comes down to lighting. So anyway, the camera though, Blackmagic Design, I have used their software for a long time. I actually don't think I have any Blackmagic Design hardware, but their editing software is great. And they came out with a new camera, which is a 17K camera. Now, most of us are used to 4K. We're seeing TVs and stuff like that come on 8K. I shoot on a Canon C500 Mark II, which shoots in 6K RAW, so somewhere between those two. Well, you know, Blackmagic, they had a 12K camera for a while, which was always kind of like, people would look at it and go, yeah, that's cool, but like, what are you going to do with that? Unless every image you're going to have to crop in on, you know, like, what do you need that for? And then they developed this 17K camera, which is just like, how? I mean, nobody's even getting close to that. I think even Red stopped at 8K. And so, and Ari is still in 4K. So, and that's the best sensor in the world. I don't know exactly what's happening or who this camera is for, but it is pretty shocking. So, are you going to be cropping on every image? If you downscale 17K to 4K, does it look that much better? What's the dynamic range? One of the big things that I've learned that you have to look at with cameras is not the clarity and sharpness. That stuff does matter, but to me, it's more about the color and the way, like the highlight roll off, the way it handles shadows, things like that, which make it look a lot better. Which again is why the Arri Alexa is still like the #1 camera that is used in Hollywood. It looks amazing. They don't care how many Ks you have after it. But anyway, I know that's not what we usually talk about in this series, but it was something that was on my mind, and I'm sure some people share my same love for this stuff. And I was just like, 17K? That's insane. The camera costs $29,000. Filson went ahead and released probably the ugliest pattern that I think I've ever seen. Now, of course, this is subjective. This is my opinion, as is everything on this channel, because that's what it is. It's me, here. There's not even anybody else around. Nobody else is home. It's just me. So you're getting my completely unfiltered opinion. And I think this is one of the ugliest things I've seen Filson come out with. This is their wool anorak. It is $550. And they have used a pattern that looks to me a lot like a Cosby sweater, but not as colorful. And I just think it looks absolutely terrible. The other thing I don't like that Filson's starting to do now is they're including exterior branding. They're making it look cheap to me. And unfortunately, I guess they have done some market research to figure out that people like this kind of thing, but I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's an anorak, so it's a pullover. And if you are going to spend $550 on a Filson, I would suggest spending a little bit more on going with the Al's anorak from Weather Wool, which is a far superior wool, design, everything, and pattern as well. That is an ugly, ugly pattern. What are they doing? Looks terrible. And I I'm sure people are tired of me talking about Filson and their downfall, but just another disappointment. UES came out with a new colorways in their heavy flannel. Now, if the $380, right, $400 for a cotton shirt from Ironheart seemed like a lot, well, UES may be where the sweet spot is for you. Plus, their fits are a little bit more Western. So I found that I really like the UES flannels, and I think that I think I got an extra large. It fit really, really well, and their patterns are really good. Their colors are very good. I found that UES tends to do this thing where they choose colorways and color patterns that almost look like stripes from further away, and I don't like that all that much. I always more prefer the grid type pattern, which really breaks it up, but that's just preference. Some people really like that, and they have some of these ones that appeal more to my taste in this new lineup. They even have an orange one. Now, it's not as eye-popping as the Ironheart, but that's okay. Sometimes I think, okay, here's something that, well, anyway, so they're usually also less expensive. But I want to get into something really quick because I think I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. Especially in the beginning, I think most people go for the most interesting stuff that they can. So, you'll buy those wild colors or totally interesting patterns, whatever it is. And then you go to wear them. And then you realize, oh, I can't wear this with that. I have to wear, whatever. You have to wear a neutral with that. You have to wear denim with this because it's just like you can't pair two things that are statement pieces. You kind of look you look a little crazy. And then I think over time, you actually kind of begin to mature and this isn't everybody, but I think that like your taste tends to mature, and you start to look for things that maybe aren't as wild and loud of a pattern, and you want to sort of tone it down. And the best dressed people I have ever seen in this kind of, even in like the dapper community, right? Or like the menswear community or whatever, they sort of tend to embrace textures over patterns and colors. And it's this sort of more mature way of going. So all that to say that these UES patterns might not be as bold and as loud as the Ironheart, which is really beautiful in and of itself. But you have to imagine, what am I going to wear that with? And, think about a shirt and tie. It's much easier to have a closet full of blue and white shirts that are of high quality, maybe some texture, maybe you have some broadcloth, some Oxford cloth, whatever it is. And then your tie is where you can bring in the pattern. Whereas if you do have a whole bunch of pattern shirts, and then you have to find a solid tie or a tie that has a different type of pattern, different scale, all that stuff, it could sometimes be a bit much. And I think most people would look at it and they'd say, like actually a blue shirt or a white shirt with that tie or whatever look really good. Same thing with a shirt, flannel shirt, and your jacket. Maybe the best way to go is something that's a little bit more grown up. So just because something isn't as loud and doesn't pop off the page or the screen as much as that Ironheart does, it actually may be more wearable. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. And I wanted to talk about this. So a long time ago, there was a great blog called The Style Blogger, and it was run by a guy named Dan Trepanier. He was Esquire's Best Dressed Man of the Year, and then that changed to a website called Articles of Style. Articles of Style was one of my favorite websites for a long time. Now we're talking like 2010s, right? And I used to check that website almost daily because they would come up with something that was really interesting. They'd have capsule wardrobes. They would show you how to pair this with that. And I felt like it was really kind of like where I started to understand a lot more about style and patterns and colors and that kind of thing. And of course, it was more around suiting fabrics and you know, that kind of had like a resurgence at that time. And people were, you know, big into dressing like that. I mean, the Gentleman's Gazette kind of stuff. And, you know, which is really cool. I mean, I love the fact that people are dressing well and feeling better about themselves and going out into the world with that extra confidence boost that dressing well brings you. And Articles of Style was a great website for a long time. And there were 3 guys. Sometimes they would bring a 4th in, and they would all sort of be the source of a different thing. But you felt like there was this group of friends who were hanging out, who were all just like trying to outdo one another with like the way they would dress. And it was fun to watch. And even though you were doing it through, you know, blog posts and photographs and stuff. Well, then a big shift came, and they decided, or Dan actually decided, that they were going to become a clothing company. And that the articles would continue, but they would now simply offer the clothes that you see in the articles, which I thought was kind of like a natural progression. That sounded good. But unfortunately, what happened was the articles and the content dropped off in favor of selling stuff. And admittedly, they had some really nice stuff. They had some great jackets. I have one of their coats. I have 2 of their suits. They also were selling shirts and ties, and I think they even did like a little collection with Frank Clegg. And for a long time, they simply transitioned and they were selling stuff. And it was actually pretty cool because you can go there. It was all made to measure. You'd go and you could actually meet these guys. And I was friends with Dan at the time. And we were kind of like, I would talk to him about how things were going and what the plans for the future were. And then we lost touch. Somewhere around COVID, completely lost touch. And so I haven't spoken to him really in a few years. And every now and then I'll go and I'll check in and see what's going on. And it looks like, unfortunately, the popularity has died down quite a bit. I think that when it just became Dan and those other people weren't there, it wasn't as interesting because you sort of felt like you were watching this group of cool people hang out, and you wanted to be there too, you know? So like it was kind of this sort of weird friendship, like you're hanging out with your buddies when you're reading these things. And like I said, the content basically dropped off, and it became a, you know, clothing store. But their prices were always just, to me, out of whack. And how this is applicable to what we're talking about, as I spoke about the Ironheart flannel shirt, which I think anybody who has ever held one would tell you is some of the best of the best. I mean, maybe Samurai is up there, maybe the Flathead, and there's a few others out there, but not many can really touch the Ironheart that consistently. And then you have UES and stuff like that. Well, Articles of Style also have a orange flannel shirt, which is called their signature plaid flannel shirt. Comes in a couple of different colorways, but again, it's $375. Now, to me, the reason that Ironheart can command the price that they do is because of the types of cotton that they use. It's hand-picked. It's brushed in the inside. It's not on the outside. Their colors are just so unique and different and interesting. All of the details they do, from the chain stitch runoff to the orange stitching on the inside. I mean, just a lot of different things where you look at it and you go, man, this is you could tell it's a considered piece. It's not something that was just slapped together. Well, the reason they can do that is, the reason they can command that price is because they do all those things. And I saw this, and this is $375, and I'm going, Dan, what are you doing, man? You know, that is a crazy amount of money for, to me, what looks like a pretty basic flannel shirt. You know, I mean, there's not much else here. Cotton flannel fabric, soft, drapes effortlessly, 100% cotton, 5 ounce. So to me, it's like, you know, what am I getting for my money? That's just, I don't know. I think so. What I'm trying to do is illustrate the difference between Somebody who gives a company like Ironheart that really gives you a lot for what you're getting. And then there are similar brands, or there are other brands, not similar, but other brands that will give you far less, but still hold that price. So oftentimes, just because something is expensive isn't always a great indicator of the quality that you're getting. Now, nobody who's watching this is going to go to Articles of Style and buy this flannel. I know that that's not the case, but it just makes me go, man, I mean, like drop that by $100 and then maybe. But even then, probably not. I just don't see the appeal. So do you remember when last week I told you about that Relwen blazer? I actually had a couple of good little conversations in the comment section about, one guy was like, come on, this looks like a leisure suit. But I actually got a couple of other messages, I think through Instagram or something. By the way, please don't message me on Instagram. I almost never get them, and I almost never read them. So, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people who are really mad because I haven't answered their things, but I only have so much time in the day. Anyway, somebody else sent one to me and said they really like it and it fits them well and it's like a great casual kind of blazer, and I was like, oh well, okay. And then I checked, and I don't know if this is brand new or not, but they came out with a corduroy version, and I was like, all right, now we're talking. I love corduroy, and it's kind of the same cut as the last one. It has that sort of casual, cool type of thing going on, and they finally show some people wearing it in the way that I probably would, and it does exactly what I kind of thought it would do, especially this guy here who's wearing the green one over a sweater and a collared shirt. He looks dynamite. So yeah, I mean, okay, well, is this the highest quality corduroy out there? No, probably not. And I don't know how the cut is, but it's an unstructured blazer, and I can't find anything else there that's quite like this. Now, it's $328. And I look down here and I see made in China, and I start going, oh, maybe not. But this has just piqued my interest so much that I got to know more about it. And I ordered one. What can I say? I got one. I got one coming in because I was just so damn curious. I almost don't care, right? Like, okay, it's made in China, but is it made to high quality the way Grant Stone is? Is it a piece of junk that's really overpriced? I'll let you know either way. But at least now I could satisfy my curiosity. All right, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about today is Gustin. You know Gustin, the company that would always do these limited drops. And for a long time, you'd basically have to be subscribed to their email list. They would tell you what's coming. You can go and fund it. And then if it reached full funding, they would put it into production and you could buy it. And I have like probably 3 or 4 different things from Gustin, which have all been great. And I've always mentioned them when it comes to like affordable ways to get into like the heritage game or whatever. I mean, I think it's called their 1968 jean is just around $100, and it's dead stock cone mills, a lot of good stuff there. It might be all the jean you ever need. Well, finally, they've sort of changed things up a little bit by offering stock. Now, there's 2 types of stock that you can get. There's featured stock and surplus stock. Featured stock is, well, reading from their website, we have started stocking some of the more popular items for immediate delivery. Select from these core styles and interesting pieces to quickly confirm your fit and start backing our crowdfunded campaign styles with confidence. So basically what it is like they're bringing back some of the fan favorites that you can buy and have shipped to you right away, so there's no waiting, which is great. Now, the surplus stock, these are items from previous production runs which were made to meet factory minimums or use up the last bit of fabric. Quantities are extremely limited and inventory constantly changes, so it really pays to keep looking at the surplus stock. Now, sometimes they won't have it in your size or whatever, but occasionally you'll find a gem there. And if you're the first person, maybe they only have 2 of them, and you get one, you just got a great deal. And I mean, there's a few examples of that. There's a wax jacket in there that I think is like $168. Looks awesome. And it's an extra small, but whatever. I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? Like if you are an extra small, you got a smoking deal there. So anyway, it's a really cool thing because if you need some staples, right? Great blue jeans or whatever, you can go to their I'm sorry, what's it called? Featured stock, and you can pick from there. If you need something that's a little bit more wild, or you want to check and see if they have any extra of your size in like a particular run that they did, go and check out surplus stock. I think it's a really good way to do things, for a company that has always been like, they're great, but, you know what I mean? They're great, but you always have to wait a little bit for your stuff. They're great, but they don't always fully fund everything, so you're not guaranteed like you're gonna get the thing. And so I think it's a good way to do it. And Guston's a really cool company. They seem to be run by some good people, and you know, again, they're always like on my short list of things to recommend to people who are looking to get into this kind of look for a little bit less. All right, that's all we have this week. That's all we have. I feel like I've been talking nonstop. I tend to ramble, and that's why you're here, right? To listen to me ramble, I think. I don't know. Why are you here? Either way, I'm glad you are. We're going to go to the patrons only section right now. If you want to become a patron, it's real easy. I leave a link at the end of the videos here that you can click and go and check it out if you want to. If not, not a big deal. Still love you. Glad that you're here, and I look forward to talking to you next week.